afternoon and welcome to the webinar on how Snowflake delivers the data cloud on AWS Marketplace. My name is Neeraj Soni. So a few announcements before we start the webinar. So we aim to complete the webinar in 45 minutes. Please stay tuned with us. Also, please feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A window during the course of the web presentation, and all your questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar by the speakers. This is an exclusive webinar and we are happy to host eminent speakers from Snowflake and Locus. The uniqueness of the webinar today is you will get to know how Snowflake helps in driving action intelligence and taking your businesses to new frontiers in the data cloud through AWS Marketplace. It gives me immense pleasure in introducing our speakers for the day. So we have Vijay Thakur, Practice Lead Data Analytics at Locus, and we have Jonathan Asestis, Senior Systems Engineer at Snowflake. So over to you, Vijay.
Thank you, Neeraj. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Thank you for the confirmation. So, hi everyone. A very warm good afternoon to all of you. My name is Vijay Thakur. I am responsible for data analytics business at Locus. I'm super excited to talk to you all specifically on data strategy and data-driven journey. Before jumping into that, maybe I would like to kind of give an overview of the organization, followed by a case study, and then after that, I would hand over the kind of presentation to Jonathan, who would be talking about Snowflake Architecture and some of the case studies around Snowflake.
Vijay, one thing, your volume is dropping a little.
It is better now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thanks, Jonathan, for that. Okay. My apologies for that. So let me get started and let me quickly share my screen. All right, so let me just give you an overview about Locus Enterprise. As an organization, we have been working with enterprises in their digital transformation journeys. And under digital transformation, there are three imperative areas where we have been adding value to our customers. Cloud being the first area for us, where we have been helping customers in terms of getting agility and scalability on hyperscalers like AWS, Azure, GCP, Oracle. We are advanced consulting partner to AWS. We have 200 plus customers when it comes to AWS. That's the first area for us under digital transformation. The second area for us is cybersecurity. We have been very closely working with enterprises when it comes to strengthening their overall cybersecurity posture. We have added significant value to our customers across BFSI, pharma, automobile, and telecom verticals when it comes to cybersecurity. We have a large SOC which operates out of Hyderabad, and from there we provide continuous protection and continuous visibility to all our customers around the clock. The third imperative area for us, or technology area for us, is high performance computing and data analytics. We are one of the leading system integrators when it comes to high performance computing. We have built a lot of supercomputers, and we have built a great amount of high performance computing infrastructure for a lot of government bodies as well as large enterprises in India. Most of the IITs and automobile customers in India, there we have built high performance computing infrastructure. Because of HPC legacy, we kind of created a niche around data analytics, and that's where we have been working with enterprises in their data strategy or data driven journey. As an organization, we are 600 plus locusite spread across major metros in India and US. Let me just talk about some of the niche projects which we have done for a couple of customers in the recent past. And for some of the projects, we have delivered on national importance, like Moon Mission, which was launched way back in 2008. So the high performance storage was designed by us, completely kind of designed, implemented, and managed by us for a long time. One of the first identity and access management deployment way back in 2008 was done by us in insurance vertical for 25,000 plus users. We have done one of the largest network transformation at one of the largest print media company in India by deploying Cisco SDN deployment. That's another niche project which we have delivered. We have delivered Cisco telepresence for one of the government bodies after Mumbai attacks. There was a need for a kind of a collaborative solution, and that's where we had kind of delivered for it one of the defense bodies in India. So these are some of the niche projects or niche projects which we have delivered for some of our customers in the past. Now I will just take 1 minute to kind of dig into data analytics practice. So as an organization, we have been very closely working with different industry verticals, predominantly fintech vertical, automobile vertical, telecom vertical, where specifically on their data strategy. And the imperative point when it comes to data strategy is to kind of choose the right data platform. And that's where we as a partner, we make sure that we help customers in choosing the right data platform, doing the ingestion rightly from the data points, putting into the platform, Snowflake specifically at this point in time, and then helping customers to do predictive analytics. So we have been helping customers in complete data engineering aspects as well as data science aspects. We have a team of 50 plus experts, roughly 10 plus customer experience spread across different verticals. So that is the scale which we bring on the table for our customers when it comes to data analytics. I would now want to kind of jump into one customer case study, which we had kind of recently deployed for one of our customers. This is one of the largest NBFCs in India, where they were struggling when it comes to kind of driving actionable intelligence. They did not have a data platform. They wanted to kind of generate a lot of business reports. They wanted to kind of get business operations visibility, their sales performance, their branches performance. So all those metrics they wanted to kind of bring on the table to drive actionable intelligence. And that's where we, as a trusted advisor or as a partner, kind of suggested the right data platform. Definitely here for this customer, we suggested Snowflake on AWS. And from BI standpoint, we integrated it with Power BI. I will just take 30 seconds to kind of explain the architecture also. So if you look at the left-hand side, we are ingesting data from different data points. Here we have Oracle, Salesforce, Lentra. These are some of the data points. And we are using AWS services, the likes of database migration services to ingest data from Oracle, then using Airflow to ingest data from Salesforce, and then transfer family, dumping that data into a raw zone, S3 precisely, doing transformation using AWS services, and then getting that data into Snowflake and then connecting it with Power BI. So the reporting and dashboarding is almost near real time. So this case study or this customer is completely on Snowflake and it is running on AWS. Customer has seen immense amount of value in terms of from business KPI standpoint. So this is where I just wanted to kind of elaborate a little bit from the case study standpoint. Now I would kind of ask my colleague Jonathan to kind of give you an overview about Snowflake. Over to you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Vijay. And do you mind if I share my slides?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. All right. All right, and good afternoon, everyone. And again, thank you for attending today's webinar. So my name is Jonathan. I'm a senior systems engineer at Snowflake, and I work very closely with Vijay at Locus to build joint solutions for our customers. So today, what I'm going to do is I'll give you a quick introduction into the Snowflake platform. We can talk about some use cases, some examples. We'll then cover off the architecture, And then if we have time, we'll do a bit of Q&A. But please, as mentioned earlier, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat window, and I'll see if I can answer them during the presentation or maybe towards the end. So just a quick introduction. So what's the problem that Snowflake is trying to solve? So we know that within every organization, there exists data silos. So you'll have multiple sources from various formats, so structured, semi-structured, or even unstructured data. The data is siloed across different systems, maybe even across different regions and clouds. Usually, these data sets that sit on these different technologies, they're difficult to upgrade. Sometimes they can be a resource intensive process, which, what does it lead to? Very hard to actually join the data, making more insights from the data. Data governance is a big issue. Who's got access to what and why and for how long, and when can I revoke the access? And again, the high cost of these legacy systems, because typically after a 3 to 5 year cycle, you probably have to do a tech refresh, and then there'll be like a data migration from the old system to the new system. And this cycle repeats. So how is Snowflake different? So if you think of Snowflake, it is a single source of truth, so your single place for all of your data. Like I mentioned earlier, your structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data sitting on a central location. When it comes to scale and concurrency, because of Snowflake's unique architecture, which I'll cover later on, but the ability for us to actually separate the compute and storage makes it a huge advantage when it comes to a platform. Zero management. Because Snowflake sits on any hyperscaler, it is a SaaS model. So you don't have to worry about managing the underlying infrastructure. Some other products out there, they're more of like a platform as a service, whereas Snowflake really is a true SaaS model. And the last component, and Snowflake actually pioneered this capability of actually doing live data sharing. And I'll cover that later on. But one thing to remember about Snowflake is its unique architecture, where it is a multi-cluster shared data type architecture. So, a lot of people would automatically assume that, when they hear Snowflake, they automatically assume it's a data warehouse that was built for the cloud. And whilst it was true in 2014, our founders, who are ex-Oracle, they built an architecture from the ground up that was built to be cloud native. And so we found that, the way they designed Snowflake at that time in 2014, we were able to deliver superior performance. But over time, as we found more and more customers starting to use the Snowflake platform, we found that it wasn't just data warehousing our customers were using us. We found that we grew from one workload, which was the data warehouse, up to 6 different workloads, covering engineering, data lake, warehousing, data science, data applications, and data sharing. And then the data sharing piece is what really has made Snowflake evolve into this data cloud. Basically, it is the network effect of being able to share data or even monetize your data. Again, I'll cover that later on in this presentation. So again, think of Snowflake, the data cloud. It is a global network. It's a unified system, connecting companies and data providers to the most relevant data for their business. Every Snowflake customer has access to the data cloud simply just by using the platform. And again, we are finding more and more use cases that customers are using the data cloud again when you look at our marketplace. So why is it exciting? Like I mentioned earlier, it is the network effect. So, you're unlocking your data. rather than keeping it internally within your own four walls, by unlocking the data, you can create new use cases, more revenue streams, and you're getting more value from your data itself. And Snowflake actually gives you the ability to use Snowflake as the platform to you put your data into the cloud for others to consume and make money from it. But what makes the data cloud? So essentially, there are two elements. The first one being the Snowflake platform that you see on the top there. And you also see the 6 different workloads that I mentioned that a lot of our customers are using Snowflake for. We also find some customers actually combine or have multiple use cases for our platform. So not only do they look at us as a data warehouse, but they also look at us as a data lake. And also being able to ingest data faster with our data engineering capabilities. And moving forward, a lot of customers are going through the whole AI ML path. So data science is also becoming key. And then on the bottom there, you'll see the content is actually is what drives, what populates the data cloud, because it has the most relevant and valuable data, whether that's from your partners or SaaS providers, or even from your own customers that are providing data to you as well. So what are some of the benefits of the data cloud? So we believe there are 3 key areas. The first one being access. So imagine if you have all of your organization's data sitting on a single platform where you can share your data without physically moving it to your ecosystem of partners. And then finally, you can enrich or make better business decisions just by going to the third-party data, which is the marketplace, and being able to use that information or use that data, combine it with your data sets, and make more meaningful business decisions. In the middle, we have governance. So, governance just means like, knowing your data. How do you protect your data? So, for example, if I were to have data tables with PII information, so personal identifiable information. So examples include email addresses or phone numbers or credit card numbers, as an example. You need the ability to be, to mask or anonymize that type of data depending on who you want to share that data with. So, by doing so, you can unlock new value and collaborate with others whilst maintaining high levels of security and compliance. And then lastly, when it comes to action, so if you think about, if I can empower every business unit with data, so if the product dev teams have access to all this data, which means they can make faster decisions, or be able to create new revenue streams, or even build better products, or even your data scientists, the more data that they have to feed their models, the better. And rather than having, from a data science perspective, having to curate or, get information or data from this system and that system, bring it to a central location, curating it, is this what I need, or modify it to suit my models, that no longer happens, because with Snowflake, the way that we ingest the data in its raw format, and because we accept structured, semi-structured, unstructured data all in a single platform, from a data scientist perspective, they have way more data to play with, which again helps them with their data modeling. So what does the data cloud look like today? So this picture is as of July 31st, and each blue dot represents a Snowflake customer. And each line connecting those dots is the ability of them actually sharing data. So there's actual connection between the two, or could be many, as you can see in some examples. So if I look at the top right here, a software company. Basically, they created an additional product. And by sharing all this data onto the marketplace, they are now making money from that. With the COVID-19 data, so unfortunately of the pandemic, we are seeing a lot of customers are going to our marketplace to download the COVID-19 data. So COVID-19 data could be like testing or vaccine data. And a lot of companies are using this data to manage, what's the impact to my business? And at the same time, how can I forecast business recovery? And then lastly, the last two here, so, financial data. So, if I look at FactSet or SMP, if you were to leverage, that data set, you don't have to worry about creating additional pipelines, just to grab that data. It's all available to you, and it's up to the vendor themselves to maintain that the data is up to date. As a consumer, you don't have to worry about anything. Once they refresh the data set, then it's automatically up to date. And again, from a consumer's perspective, you don't have to do anything. And then lastly, around the rim of this picture, again, just examples of thousands of companies sharing data with their customers or even their partners, suppliers, and other business units. So to give you a visualization, so remember last year, we found that Snowflake, a lot of customers are starting to use us as the data cloud. So as of April 2020, there's a lot of white space. But if you look on the right-hand side, as of October 2021, it's starting to explode. And I make this joke with VJ is like one day, the picture on the right is going to be, you won't see any white space. So just to highlight as an example here, some of the trends shaping the financial service industry. What we're seeing here is, there are 4 key areas. One being a customer-centric model, the increased demand for data to power analytics. So the more the data I have, the better business decisions I can make. Everyone is going through a whole process of digitalization and automation. And then finally, the convergence of fintech in this area. The question on also provide data cloud analytics, how does it fit into the AWS framework? I'll cover that later on in the architecture slide. So I'll get back to you on that one. So what are some of the data challenges in the financial services? So what keeps leaders up at night? I talked about this earlier, the legacy silo technology. So different data sets sitting on different vendors, different technology stacks. The inability to make, business decisions because I don't have all the data, or the data that I have is it stale, is it up to date, etc. And lastly, because financial services, it's a very regulated industry. There are a lot of things that financial companies need to adhere to. They have to all adhere to, like, for example, the SEC, their rules and regulations. So a lot of the firms have to abide by the most strict data access standards, and who has access to what data as well. So again, security is very key, especially when it comes to Snowflake, because when Snowflake was developed, security was first and foremost. So everything is encrypted in flight and at rest. And in actual fact, if you go to our Snowflake website, we actually adhere to a lot of security and compliance things. Not a problem. I was just looking at the questions. So yeah, as I was saying, Snowflake has also been pen testing. We also pass with flying colors. So again, Snowflake is a very robust platform. And I'm just looking at time. Okay, cool. So I might just quickly skip a few of these slides. So within the financial services. So, unlocking new value with the data cloud, again, being able to obtain third-party data sets, to help you make better business decisions. Depending on which vertical you're in, so if you're in banking, for example, what are some of your business drivers? So you want to improve consumer experiences, which leads to more growth. You want to reduce your risk because you want to consolidate different, reporting from different systems, maybe, and improve employee efficiency, right, to help with costs. So again, here are just some examples here, but let's just give you a good example. So imagine in the middle, I'm an insurance company, and I have all of my data sitting in Snowflake, whether I have my financial and risk data, my CRM, my ERP data sitting all on Snowflake. What I can do is I can actually, in my ecosystem, I can obtain data from Visa for credit card and payment systems, or using Aladdin by BlackRock for my asset management, or going through Experian to look at credit history. And then in the Snowflake Data Marketplace, if I want to also grab information from S&P Global or even FactSet, I can grab that data as well from the data from the marketplace to help you make better decisions. So here's a really good use case. So this particular equities trading firm, so with access to all of the data that you see on the screen, they're able to business outcome was, they could get more insights, better investment decisions. They reduce the time to actually go find the data in the marketplace, traditional methods, and so forth. So within Snowflake for financial services, why Snowflake is a good fit. We believe that our platform is superior. We have proven industry success, and I guess the last thing is commitment to trust and transparency, because again, Snowflake, security is paramount, and again, when you're dealing with a heavily regulated industry, you're going to make sure everything's all aligned. And then again, this is just an example. So if I'm in financial services, so if I want to analyst report on spur of the moment, can this happen? Yes, it can. Again, I'll cover the architecture, and I think I'm taking a bit too long, but I'll speed up a little bit. But here's an example. If I want to get demographic data, I can use Experian. I can get weather data, to help me find where the best policy holders are. Or if I need to get data from health, analyze health data. And again, I mentioned this earlier, getting some financial and economic data, to look at, policy holder, financial health. And again, imagine combining all of these different data sets, into your organization, and, to help you make better business decisions. So I'll just stop there. Vijay, any questions? Okay, not a problem. No questions. Okay, so again, the questions I'm seeing in the chat, once I cover the architecture, hopefully that will answer your questions. So let me just quickly move on. And I know I'm a bit short on time. So if you look at Snowflake, it is a unique architecture because of the way that we've separated the compute and storage. So Snowflake, as I mentioned earlier, is a SaaS, right? So it's similar to a Salesforce and so forth. So Snowflake sits on any hyperscaler you see on the screen here. So whether that's GCP, AWS, and Azure. Funny enough, AWS was actually our first partner. When Snowflake came to the world. So from a centralized storage perspective, we leverage the blob storage of the 3 hyperscalers. So it's cheap. What also happens is that within Snowflake, when we ingest the data, we also compress your data as well. And typically we get about a 60 to 80% reduction when it comes to the storage component. The second layer is the multi-cluster compute. So what we can do is we can spin up EC2 instances for different use cases so that there is no resource contention between the two. So for example, I can have my Tableau users, I can have my data science users, I can have other users, my pipelines coming into my centralized storage, and we can talk about terabytes and petabytes of scale, right? Because we're leveraging the hyperscalers cloud infrastructure. So again, you talk about near infinite scale when it comes to storage and compute. And then lastly, the cloud services layer. So this is where Snowflake does all the smarts. So when it comes to query optimization, how we can run the queries a lot faster, the way that we write the data into Snowflake is a thing called micro partitions. But again, that's we can have another session talking about that in more detail. We talked about security and governance. So the encryption, we can have encryption keys, or you can use yours, role-based access control. There are a lot of things that we do from a security standpoint. And then last but not least, the sharing and collaboration, which I'll cover in a minute. So under the hood, on the left-hand side, any data source, whether structured, semi-structured, unstructured data, coming into the Snowflake platform, powering those 6 different workloads that you see on the screen. And under the covers, there are 3 key areas which I want to talk about, which is the Elastic Performance Engine, the Intelligent Infrastructure, and SnowGrid. And on the right-hand side, there was a question, can analysts spare up, do the reporting? Yes, they can. It could be ad hoc, or it could be weekly, but again, you can have separate compute clusters for different types of workloads. And the cool thing about Snowflake is that we can scale these compute clusters instantaneously. So I can go from what we call an extra small cluster all the way to a large cluster within seconds. And to give you an idea, a extra small cluster is just one EC2 instance, and then small, medium, large. So we follow this t-shirt based sizing all the way up to 6XL, which is 512 nodes per cluster. We can also scale out. So I just mentioned about scaling up. So if you have really complex queries and you need more performance, then we can spin it up. And once you're done with running that query, you can spin the cluster back down to an extra small. The one thing about Snowflake is you pay per second. All right. So once you've done your query, you finish. Yep, you can put a policy in place to auto suspend the compute cluster, so you're not paying any credits for it. And then there are times where visualization, hit F5, Tableau. On a Monday, everyone does a refresh, not a problem. But come end of the month, batch processing, rather than 5 users, I have 50 users. Snowflake is intelligent enough to see that, okay, if the queries are in queue and there's a lot, the system will automatically span out multiple clusters to spread the queries across all the compute clusters. And as the queries shorten, then the multi-cluster will shrink back down. So again, performance is very key because of the ability to scale, and because we can have a dedicated compute instance for different workloads. So there's no resource contention. Intelligent infrastructure. So one thing about Snowflake is that you don't have to manage the infrastructure. We do it for you. Okay, so there's no maintenance or tuning you have to do. Again, I talked about the encryption piece. Again, we do that all for you. And because Snowflake under the covers utilizes the hyperscalers availability zones, so you can fail over, or even if you want, you can also replicate cross clouds if you want. I'll cover that in a minute. But again, the key thing here is you do not have to manage the Snowflake platform itself. We do it for you. Okay, so remember, Snowflake is a true SaaS model, and again, like I said, it's a usage-based pricing. SnowGrid. So again, the ability to share data with no ETL, or dumping your data on an FTP website, or writing an API to grab the data. By the time you've grabbed the data, put on a stage, massage it, then put into like a test and dev environment. By the time you do all that work, the data could be stale, right? It might not be up to date. And so with SnowGrid, we can share data across clouds, cross regions, whilst all maintaining governance and compliance. So I talked about this as well. So again, the traditional method of sharing data is either FTPs or APIs, or even just putting on an S3 bucket somewhere, and then giving someone the link, giving the keys to that bucket, I suppose. But again, like I mentioned earlier, once you copy the data and move it, there's security risks. It's unsecure, obviously. Who's got access to it and why they have access to it? You don't know. Sometimes some pipelines can break. Again, having to manage this is not the right way. But with Snowflake, whether you're a consumer or provider, it's a single copy. Okay, it's live. There's no delays. There's no cost in moving it. And the cool thing is that once you've had the copy of the data, you no longer need it. I can immediately revoke the access. So again, that's very key. And just a few more slides. So, how can you share and collaborate in the data cloud? So for example, you have your Snowflake account in the middle. On the left-hand side here, you can, if you have a particular data set that you want to put in the marketplace and monetize from it, you can. That's one way. Or on the right-hand side, you can actually share that data set directly with another Snowflake customer. That could be a partner. Or if you want, you can share data that's someone that's not on Snowflake yet. That's also possible. Or you can also set up your own data exchange. A data exchange, if you think about it, within my organization, I have manufacturing, I have finance, I have HR. Imagine, these different teams can, share data, because usually a lot of organizations, different business units will have different systems and different data sets and so forth. So having to manage that can be a nightmare. But within Snowflake, if everyone's data is in a central location, therefore it's easy to share data. And again, businesses can make better decisions. And my last slide, and I know I've gone over time. Sorry, Vijay, I didn't want to steal your thunder. But we are seeing this grow and grow. Today, we have 200 plus providers over 18 different categories. So you can see here on the left-hand side, depending on which category you want to look into, even if it's manufacturing or IoT data, we have a lot of customers who are using getting live sensor data, centralizing it, and then therefore using the weather data, for example, and say, okay, if it's going to be raining and the construction machine is only going to be 50% utilized, then how about we do preventative maintenance, so therefore that the machine will be 100% efficient next time when it's able to go out and do its thing. So that's just one example, but again, we are seeing this continually grow and grow and grow. Key thing here is, as a provider, you provide the most current up-to-date data. You update it automatically. The consumer, they don't need to do anything. They just run another query. The queries, they're hitting the most up-to-date data. Again, you don't have to worry about building separate pipelines for all this data into your organization. Snowflake handles that for you. And finally, you can deliver your data and services to your customers. So with that, let's open up for Q&A, and I'll just have a quick look. So hopefully, Reggie Paul, so hopefully I answered that question. So basically, Snowflake sits on top of like AWS. As Vijay showed you earlier, we actually complement some AWS resources as well, like could be Glue or EMR. We work well together. Analyst report. So Anupam, yep, can this happen? Sure. You just have a dedicated warehouse for my analysts, and you can set policies to say when to spin up, when to spin down, how big you want the warehouse to be, and yeah. For large data sets of data, how is the performance? So yep. So like I said earlier, if you have large sets of data within Snowflake, you can just spin up a larger size cluster warehouse, and you can see it for yourself, and then you can spin it back down. Vamsi, any preferred visualization tool to explore Snowflake? In actual fact, any, basically. It can be Tableau, Power BI. We have a large ecosystem of partners, whether that's for ingestion, for ETL, ELT, or visualization, or even data science. We have a massive partner framework of partners that we use. For this tool, you can is infrastructure shared between tenants? So how's the situation where clients want dedicated instance due to compliance? So like I said, so the data is centrally stored. You can have separate compute instances accessing the data. But if you have a situation where the data has to be completely secure, then we can have a situation where within Snowflake, it's called, I believe, VPS, a virtual private Snowflake, where only your data is like, imagine it sits within your own four walls, but sits in the cloud. So that's also possible. All right, Vijay, any other questions? Like I said, I don't want to steal your thunder. I've gone over. I'm 11 minutes over, so.
That's perfectly fine, Jonathan. Not a problem. So I hope the session is kind of informative for everyone, because that's the objective at the end of the day. And yeah, there were a couple of questions, and you answered those questions. So thank you so much, everyone. I think we really appreciate everyone's time. Yeah, over to you, Neeraj.
Yes, so I would like to thank all the attendees for joining the session. And Vijay and Jonathan, special thanks to you. It was a great and informative session. So we'll be sharing the recording of this session with all the attendees for your reference ahead. And once again, thank you so much and have a great day ahead. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you, everyone.